Hello fellow orchid lovers, it's Danielle here with an update on my transitioning orchids, the ones that we started off in waterculture together. This is not one of them. This is my Dendrobium pendulum. She just popped her blooms open today, so I wanted to share them with you. So beautiful. I don't know how close in I can get and focus, but just stunning. Beautiful blooms. So I wanted to share that with you first. And then I'm just gonna do this update all at once so that there's not like a bunch of little videos. You can skip ahead, you can do whatever you want depending on what type you are interested in. I'm gonna start off with the orchid that most of us have, which is our Phalaenopsis orchids. So these are the four that we had originally transitioned. There was the two in the back there that were brand new to my collection. The Lindeni that was relatively new, only about a month or two old and had a bit of a root problem, so we added her. And then also this Noid Mini Phal that also had somewhat of a root issue. So we'll get to these little ones first so we can get them out of the way. This is the Noid Mini. And if you'll remember, she was spiking and she had very short roots. She had one really long root that went all the way down and then a couple of really short roots that were up here. And so our difficulty was hydrating her properly, considering that she only had the one root. So many of you know that I switched my orchids, my Phalaenopsis orchids to semi-waterculture in the winter. And what that just means is instead of them having a small reservoir of water 7 days a week, now I soak the orchids for 2 days up to their stems, and then for 5 days they are completely dry. So today is watering day, so I do need to water this orchid. And so what I'll do is I'll take some water and I'll put it up to the base of her stem, and she'll sit in that water for 2 days, and then I will drain it completely off. Actually with her, I will leave just a tiny bit of water in the bottom because she is spiking again. So this is her old spike. It didn't dry up, but now she has another spike coming. So I don't want her to eat the spike, so I do leave her with a tiny little bit of water, just the tips of her roots. But as you can see, since that first video, this was the long root that she had, and look at these other roots that have grown. So soaking the plant and then letting it dry off or almost dry off does seem to help with the root growth. Like I said, she's got another spike coming. A lot of my phals are in spike. So that's her. She's doing good. My next one is the Lindeni. So this one had really terrible roots when we got her. She was in moss and it just looked like she was, struggling a bit. I have since trimmed a lot of those roots off because they really were not benefiting the plant. And I'm doing the same thing with her. I'm just bringing the water up and soaking her stem 2 days out of the week and then letting her sit dry for the rest of the week. And as you can see, she has a new root growing there. So that's good. No signs of dehydration in her leaves. So this method of, giving her a good soak for 2 days and then letting it dry off is not harming her in any way. I do watch very closely for signs of dehydration. So far, there are no signs. So she's doing really good. These two, this is the Secret Smile and the Golden Smile. So if you remember, they were both in moss and they both were struggling right out of the gate. I knew when I took them out of the moss that their root systems didn't look great. The Secret Smile, it seemed like her roots were good, but they shriveled up and dried really quickly. The Golden Smile, we knew right away. Bad root system. So since then, the Secret Smile, I'll show you her first. So as you can see, I trimmed a lot of her leaves off. She came with quite an extensive amount of leaves. But looking down in between the leaf joints, I saw a lot of these nubs, which is a root that tries to grow and then doesn't have the strength to get through all of those leaves, and it kind of just aborts. And so what I decided to do is pull a lot of those leaves off so that there will be less layers for the new roots to go through. And as you can see, that has really worked. I did also trim off the bottom of her stem because it was evident to me that these roots were not really doing anything for her. So I just trimmed the bottom of her stem because it was ridiculously long. I mean, that's a really long stem. She doesn't need that, especially because these roots are dead. And as you can see, the stem really doesn't have any life in it. It's pretty much dead itself. So there's really no need for her to keep this. So I just trimmed that off. You know, just as you can see, all of those little nubs. You see those little nubs on the stem there? Those are all roots that tried to come out. And because there were just so many leaves on her, they couldn't poke through all those layers of leaves. So now that we've removed some of those layers, she is successfully putting out some new roots. And again, doing, you know, the semi-water culture with her for the winter does seem to be helping her put out those roots much quicker. So that's really good. The secret smile, the golden smile does not seem to want to cooperate. She is being a little bit of a pain in my neck. Her leaves are starting to desiccate, which, you know, is a sign that she's getting dehydrated. Her roots are in pretty poor shape. She does have one root there, as you can see, that I'm leaving intact because it is still firm, and another one there, but they're not really hydrating her. Even when I'm soaking the orchid, she's not really getting good hydration, and I do soak up to her stem, but it's just not, it's not really promoting anything yet. She seems to be one of those types of orchids that just, you know, will do what she wants when she wants. When I see this, you know, this is a sign of dehydration, but I'm not really concerned. This happens a lot right before roots come. So, you know, I'm staying tuned, I'm watching, but I'm not really panicked at this moment. I'm kind of just letting her do what she wants to do, and I'm not interfering too much. You know, I water her like everyone else, and then she gets 5 days dry. And we'll see what happens. I'm not going to baby her because she's annoying me. Anyways, so she's my only naughty child, but everyone else is doing really good. So then these are the Dendrobium. So we had the pendulum that I got that was in a very, very sorry state. I actually got that one because when I got this one, it was so sad that I bought another one from a different supplier. So if you'll remember, when we got this one, it had a few new growths that all the tops of the new growths were completely rotted, much like this. I was so upset when I pulled her out of the box, but yeah, so she's not doing great. She is putting out a keiki here. She has something coming here. It looks like a keiki because it has little tiny roots, if you can see that there. So she's throwing out a couple of keikis, and I think it might be because she knows that she is not going to make it. I did a lot more research on this orchid, and this particular species of Dendrobium apparently does not live very long under cultivation. Even people that know this orchid and take care of this orchid the proper way do struggle sometimes to keep it alive. Supposedly they're very prone to mold and rot. Hello. I mean, she came to me like this, so it's not, you know, I don't really think that I'm responsible for this, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to rescue her, since it is very hard to keep a healthy plant alive in cultivation for more than a few years. So, you know, we're still watering her. We're still trying. If she does succeed in maturing one of these keikis, we can try to restart the plant with that. This particular cane is still very plump, but it doesn't have any leaves, so it has no way to photosynthesize through its leaves. So I don't know how it's going to do, but it's not dead yet. So it's really just an experiment of what this thing's going to do. And that's why I'm keeping it around at this point. Because like I said, I did purchase another one because of how bad condition that plant was in. And as you can see, she's blooming. So I'm sorry, did I show you those blooms already? I'm like obsessed. The other one is our Farmeri. So this one's doing really well too. Put out a very extensive root system, as you can see. Really, really chunky roots. Doing really good. It has put out 2 growths since I got it. So it put out this one, which is, you know, smaller than its other canes have been in the past. And then now it's working on another one over here. So I would say she's doing pretty good. You know, this is a new type of Dendrobium to my collection, so I'm still learning, but you know, she's growing, she's getting roots, and she's getting new growth, so I would say she's pretty happy. I think she might be getting too much light though, because the tips of her leaves are getting pretty yellow, and it's where the light is kind of hitting the leaves, so I think I'm gonna have to reconsider where her placement is. She is right by the window, so I think I'm gonna have to reconsider that. So that's the Dendrobiums. So I think what I'll do next is I'll do the Cattleyas. So we had our Hausermann Sultan, which is a seedling. We had our Yellow Bird, which was also a small orchid when I got her. And then we also had, oh dear, I forgot her name. Hold on. Bright Star, I think. She's quite a mix. Whoops. Bright Star, Happy Hours. So we'll just start with the seedling. So seedlings, you know, they can be a little bit difficult to grow and to transition over. This is my first real success story with a Cattleya seedling. I have killed other ones in the past. It is watering day, so this water is very, very high. Don't think that this is how I keep her. This is what I do when, you know, I water her, is I take the water up to her roots. I let her sit like this for an hour or so, and then I drain the water off. But as you can see, she got two new growths. She got this new growth right here, and then she got this new growth right here, and she has a lot of new roots coming, as you can see. Her old root system is still healthy, so it still greens up and looks good. And then she did put quite a few roots down into the reservoir, so as you can see, her root system is growing. So she's doing really well. I think that she is continuing on the course we desire. Whether or not that will, you know, continue, I don't know, but she's doing good so far, so that's really great. So again, with her, she's in semi-water culture, but it's also kind of semi-hydro in that there is a little bit of a reservoir of water on the bottom. But I bring the water all the way up to the top, get her whole root system nice and damp for about an hour, maybe two, and then I drain the water off so there's only water in the reservoir, and then she sits like that for the rest of the week, and then I do it again. So it's the same thing with the Yellow Bird. The Yellow Bird, this was a new growth when I got her, and as you can see, it's matured really well. She tricked me. I did see something growing there in the apex of the leaf, and I thought perhaps we were going to get a spike, but then she decided to put out another new growth instead. She gets really good light. She's right by the window, and lots of root growth, really good root growth, as you can see, going down into the reservoir. And again, water all the way up to the base of her for a couple of hours once a week, and then I drain it off so that there's only water in the reservoir. There's not a lot of water, and she sits like that for the rest of the week. So doing really well. Hopefully we'll get you know, blooms on her the next time that she puts out a new growth. Now this one had a terrible root system, and that's why we put her in. I mean, literally there wasn't one live root on this orchid. So we decided to add her to our series. So as you can see, these roots in here, these were the roots that she came with. They were brown and mushy and gross. And we potted her up, and look at all that root growth. So she's doing really good too. All those roots growing down into the reservoir. So I would say that she's doing good. This is a new growth that she developed, and then this is a new growth that she developed. No signs of any sheaths or anything like that. And they are slightly smaller than the other pseudobulbs that she had. But like I said, when she came to me, she had terrible roots. So the first growths from terrible roots, I'm not really concerned about as far as blooming is concerned or size is concerned. Hopefully the next, you know, 2 new growths or 1 new growth, whatever she does, will be better. All right, so let's push them back. and we will bring our Vandaceous types up. So we have our Mimi Palmer, which is being watered. Again, this is not the levels I keep them at during the week. This is just watering day, so they are getting watered. So we have our Lilac and we have our Mimi Palmer. So the Lilac, if you'll remember, didn't have roots, very good roots. Mostly all of its roots were like this right here. We started to get little bits of roots, and I was doing the microfiber cloths, but I was finding that the roots didn't really enjoy that. So basically what I decided to do is add her to my semi-water culture with a little twist on it, in that she gets soaked all the way up to the top of her stem on watering day, and then I drain the water off so just the tips of her roots stay for the rest of the week in water. So, you know, basically she'll sit like that. Just the tips of her roots in the water, and then I'll water again the next week. So she gets really good soak once a week, and then just the tips. And so far, so good. The roots are really happy, as you can see. Green, nice growing tips. Same thing with the Mimi Palmer. She gets the same treatment. As you can see, she's grown some new roots, which is really great. Some of her older roots have branched. A lot of her old roots aren't that great, but the ones that are able to branch are doing so. That's another one that came off. So in general, she's doing really well. And then there's something over here that puzzles me. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. That little growth right there, that is not a root. So I don't know if she's putting off a keiki, or I don't know if the Mimi Palmer is prone to doing keikis. Some Vandaceous types are. I can't think that that's a spike. I think she's just too little to get a spike, so I'm not really, it's definitely not a root. So I'm kind of interested to see what that's going to turn out to be, because I'm not really sure what it is at this point. Definitely not a root, but can't think that that's a spike. So that's how she's doing. So both of the Vandaceous types are doing really well. Now we move over here to our Oncidium types, and this is, you know, again, where it's a little bit of a touch and go situation. So I haven't gotten to water these yet, so I can't really show you the levels of water, but if you'll recall, we had three orchids in this set. So we had our Tropic Lily, and there were 2 pieces of the Tropic Lily that were in the pot. One piece is doing better than the other, and it wasn't the one I thought was going to do better. If you'll remember, this was the bigger piece with the bigger spike, and this was the one with the little spike that was just a small, you know, 2 pseudobulbs. But she's doing really, really well. She's got a nice, healthy new growth coming here, as you can see. Nice, beautiful root system developing. Really, really well she's doing. And then the piece that we thought was going to do better because it was a bigger piece and it had a bigger spike, not good at all. No new roots, no new growths, just sitting there desiccating. You know, she is due for some water today, but it doesn't matter how much water I give her. This situation does not change. Like if I give her more water and keep her more damp throughout the week, there is no change, except that I'm worried I'm going to rot her. So I'm not really sure. She's not dead yet, but I don't know why she's doing so poorly as compared to the other one that is really, I mean, doing so well. And the way that I water them is this one, I just get the base of her roots wet because this will absorb like a sponge, and I don't want to put it too high because I don't want the base of her to rot. So I just get the very bottom of her roots wet, and I keep the water level right about there. And then for this one, because her root system is so extensive, I do actually put the water up pretty high because she drinks it really quickly. And I don't want her new growth to start to crinkle. So I do put the water level up about halfway in the glass because she'll drink that within a couple of days. Now that it's getting to be the winter time, she probably won't drink it as quickly, but that just means I don't have to top her up midweek. I can go the whole week without watering her, whereas in the summer, halfway through the week, I would have to top her up again. Now I do, you know, half of the water, and then I leave her alone for the week, and I come back, and then this is how she looks. Another one that we didn't think was going to live, but somehow has pulled through, is our witch's jewel. So if you'll remember, she was in such a sorry state. The only pseudobulb I was able to save was this one, and it had a small new growth attached to it. Well, the new growth has matured, as you can see, and gotten a pseudobulb, which is really nice. And now she's putting out her own new growth with a root system. So, you know, she is trying. She put out quite a few new roots. But I mean, she's not out of the woods yet. She does need to get a bit bigger. And you know, so basically she had no roots when we got her. So we would just rest her on the beads and put the water just to the base of her. And as you can see, she did grow some roots. And so now she's able to hydrate herself a little bit better. Again, she's not out of the woods, but she is alive and she's doing okay. She did not die, which is what I thought she was gonna do. So it's moving in the right direction. And then we have the Miltassia. Again, we had two pieces, one that I thought was going to do really well, one that I thought wasn't going to do so well at all. The one that I thought was going to do really well is this one. And as you can see, I was wrong about this one too. It just goes to show orchids kind of do their own thing. Yeah, so we ended up having to trim a lot off of her because she developed, see that orange rot. But it has since dried out. It is no longer wet, and she is putting out a new growth, and she is putting out some new roots. So again, I don't think she's out of the water. I think that she is still very much swimming for her life. But, you know, there's progress in the right direction. So we just, you know, water her and try to keep her base from getting too wet and, you know, hope for the best. The other piece that I didn't think was going to do well because there was extensive brown rot in her pseudobulbs. Oh, Vance is coming to say hi. Hey, Vance. All right. She's actually doing much better. So it was two pseudobulbs with a new growth. The new growth, the top part of it got stuck in between the bracts, and you can see how the leaves kind of crinkled and rolled there. But she is now putting out her own new growth. She did put out a root system. So not bad, you know. I do think I'm keeping her a little too dry, and so her roots aren't really staying alive very well. I am in this winter time. I do have a little bit more trouble keeping the orchid room as humid as I'd like, because, you know, we have the baseboard heat, and then I have a space heater in here just to make sure it doesn't get too cold. But it makes it very dry, and my humidifier is having trouble keeping up with it. So yeah, so that's basically it. I hope that was a good update for you guys. I hope that you're finding similar success. If you have any questions about any particular type that I went over here that you'd like a little bit more clarification with, just let me know. If you have questions in reference to your own plants that you're crossing over and you're having some difficulties with, you know, let me know that as well. But other than that, I hope you guys are all having a good winter so far, and I will talk to you all next time.